This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
Something I know that you help individuals with, David, not only the income side of things, but also looking down the road 30, 40 plus years. You know, what about an estate plan? Have you thought about that? Well, we've told you that most people aren't preparing for retirement with an advisor, a written financial plan, and especially an estate plan, right? The two trends could make the estate part a little bit worse because they say the price of downsizing has gotten so high that people are staying in their long-term homes and they're aging in place. Things just stay the same, so they don't see the need for planning. And boomers are so afraid of running out of money, they have an attitude of, I'm going to need it, all of it. And if there's anything left over, you could have it. I don't see a need for an estate plan. So they keep pushing it towards the back burner. What are your thoughts on these, and how could these attitudes lead to problems later on?
Well, those attitudes can create serious problems because estate planning is not only about who gets money after you're gone, it's also about who you can help while you're alive. Now, that is the part many people miss. If someone says, I'm staying in my home and nothing is changing, that doesn't mean planning is unnecessary. In fact, aging in place often makes planning more important. So what happens if there's a health event? Because that can change your estate plan financially in a big way. Then you have to have somebody in place who can pay your bills if you become incapacitated. That's where a power of attorney is very important, or who coordinates your care and who can speak to the doctors and who can access your accounts. So there's a lot of decisions that if a person cannot make them because they're incapacitated, you need to have your estate plan documents that are required in place first before they can really help you out. And it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a trusted individual that can fill that role. You know, without power of attorneys, healthcare directives, beneficiary reviews, and clear instructions, the family might be forced into a crisis decision-making position. And that's not a good place to be when you're under emotional duress. And it's good to have the plan that identifies what your wishes are. And it's a clear path forward as to what the family is going to do because you've already given them those instructions. So there's no guesswork as to what that person who might be ill, what they really wanted to occur. So, you know, the second attitude is a lot of people think they need all their money, so they don't need an estate plan. They also miss the point that they need to control all their money. So estate planning documents doesn't mean giving everything away. It just means staying in control, protecting yourself, and reducing the confusion later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're getting organized. And something else I want to bring up real quick here, David, is that I think I can speak for some folks that when we hear estate, we think, oh, my God, I don't have mansions and money. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not well off. I mean, you know, is that part of it? Or can anybody and everybody have an estate plan?
Well, it's not everybody needs an estate plan. It depends on the complexity of their estate, what type of assets they have, how many beneficiaries they have. But a good estate plan can help with a lot of things, such as financial decision-making during incapacity, or medical decision-making, or avoiding family conflicts. Coordinating beneficiaries, very important, because when we meet with new people, we always look at their accounts to make sure they have updated beneficiary designations. That's pretty important, because without a will, those beneficiary designations will really override, even if you have a will, what's going to happen with those accounts. Protecting a surviving spouse. An estate plan is very important for that. And reducing probate complications, or making sure assets go where you want them to go, where they intended to go with your wishes. And protecting the vulnerable or financially inexperienced beneficiaries. There could be estate planning documents that can help in those situations. So the risk of doing nothing is that loved ones are left guessing. And when families are grieving or dealing with medical crisis, guessing can turn into disagreement, legal expense, and emotional change. So I think it's important to at least investigate if your situation is warranting some type of an estate plan structure. And we always help folks when they come in, if they don't have any estate plan, we start looking at whether it's a viable path that should be investigated while we're doing their financial plan, because one should integrate with the other very seamlessly. So we do a lot of work in that area. If you're listening today, although you might be thinking that a financial plan is something you need some assistance with, we can also coordinate our discussion and looking at the big picture and as to whether an estate plan is also going to be something that's pretty important to be part of your planning process. So give us a call. We can have that discussion. And if we're working on your master plan, we'll have more information that will help us assess whether an estate plan is going to be pretty important in your situation.
203-872-0009. That's 203-872-0009. That website, of course, masteringyourwealthradio.com. Give a call today for this wealth master plan, 203-872-0009. That website, of course, masteringyourwealthradio.com. You know, when people get speaking roles on TV shows and movies, they usually earn residuals. Some call it mailbox money because the checks just keep coming in, right? They keep showing up. But there's a flip side to residuals. Ted McGinley, who made a lot from Married with Children, he tells Page Six that they eventually just kind of dry up.
I was on a Love Boat for 3.5 seasons. I was on Happy Days for 4 seasons. I mean, I've been getting residuals all the time. I have a whole stack upstairs for 1 cent.
Do you bother cashing those in?
No.
What's the cutoff? Like, I would be pretty cheap. I would still $5 I'd put in. But what's your baseline?
I'd say anything above 2 is going in.
$2?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, that's one way of doing it, I guess. In the retirement world, we often compare residuals to annuities. The paychecks come regularly. That's a top hit right there. But do annuities go a step further, David?
They can, because the key difference is that residuals can fade away while certain annuities are designed to provide income for life. And they can be a great option to fill in a bigger gap of lifetime income on top of your Social Security that somebody might be interested in doing, such as covering enough for their bare necessities so they know they'll always have enough money there for those types of expenses. Residuals are a great analogy because people understand the idea of checks showing up without going to work every day. So in retirement, that is what many people really want, reliable income that keeps coming after the paycheck stops. And that's one of the big challenges people have when they go from their working years in their accumulation phase into their income years or income distribution phase. How do you create income from your nest egg and all your resources? And we get a lot of calls from people that are looking for that solution. And we work out strategic income plans for those situations because we need to have a plan that they can visualize that validates that their income is going to be sustainable for as long as they live. So, the thing with residuals, they depend on things outside your control. The show might stop airing for these actors that are getting these residuals. The contract can change. The checks may shrink. What once felt like meaningful income can eventually become very small, like in this actor's situation. But with certain annuities, especially income annuities or annuities with guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefits, the goal is different. The annuity can provide a contractual income stream that continues for life, depending on the terms and guarantees of the contract. So they can help solve one of the biggest retirement fears, and that's running out of money. And that's the biggest fear that most people have.
Yep, and this is something that David will sit down with you one-on-one. Let's do an annuity x-ray. Let's see if that is a fit for you, and if so, where in your plan. Give a call today. That phone number, 203-872-0009. That website, of course, masteringyourwealthradio.com. Get this, a Domino's delivery driver in Idaho made quite an impression recently with a simple act of kindness. Dan Simpson was heading out with the order when he realized that they were out of soda. He stopped at a nearby store, bought it himself, and refused to take payment from the customer. The video of the whole thing went viral, and a GoFundMe raised $150,000 for Simpson, who was on the verge, really, of retirement.
And I've always tried to work hard and go the extra mile on stuff, and I guess maybe I'm getting rewarded for that. I don't know. I don't think I work any harder than anyone else. I've always tried to be a pretty nice guy and help people out because I know what it's like to be down and out. So when I see people that are kind of hurting, I try to help them.
I love that. Very sweet. Great story there. But most people aren't going to get retirement gifts like that. So when you sit down with somebody, how do you help them create the kind of security that they need so that they don't have the sudden windfall to retire comfortably?
That story is wonderful, but you're exactly right. Most people cannot build a retirement plan around a surprise windfall. Hope isn't a strategy. And I mentioned this a little while ago. Most people are running on a plan of hope for the retirement, and they spend more time planning a 2-week vacation every year than they ever did planning a retirement that might last 15 to 30-something years. Whether it's a GoFundMe situation or inheritance, lottery win bonus, or unexpected stock gain may help some people, but retirement security should be built deliberately with a plan. When we sit down with someone, the first step is to understand where they are today. And what assets do they have? What debts do they have? Because we have debt shredding strategies that will really help people get out from under those costly debt situations. What income sources are available? We evaluate that. What will Social Security provide? And do they have a pension? And what does their spending look like? And that is a big exercise that people struggle with. They don't really list what they're spending every month. And when we do the forecast, that's one of the most important pieces of the analysis we need. Some things are going to change with inflation. Some are flat and level. So we have to kind of dial in on how their spending is going to look with inflation factored in. Or what risk are they facing? So, then we convert that information into a retirement forecast. And we do all the heavy lifting. So the goal is to answer the basic questions. First of all, can you retire? When can you retire? And how much income can you take? And how long will the money last? And what if the market drops? People are overweighted in market-sensitive investments when they get into their income years, and that is a very vulnerable position to be in, especially where we are in the market today. And what if inflation stays high, and what if healthcare costs rise? Because out-of-pocket healthcare costs derail more retirements than I've seen, especially in the last 5 years. And what if a spouse dies? You have to have a backup plan for that. And what if you need long-term care? Once we understand these gaps, we can create the strategy and let people retire with confidence because they have a plan that they can see in their own numbers and know what they can spend, and that they have contingency plans when the spouse dies or some unexpected expenses might arise. So that strategy may include increasing savings, reducing your debt, working a little longer, delaying Social Security, adjusting investment risk, building your cash reserves, looking at Roth conversions or Roth alternative conversions, or reviewing annuities or changing spending assumptions. All these things are variables that impact your numbers. Now, are we going to guess these variables exactly? No. So we have to stress test these variables in different levels of movement. Higher inflation, higher taxes, longer life expectancy. So it's key. Recently we worked with somebody who felt behind and kept saying, I guess I just need a miracle. And you don't need a miracle. You need a plan. But when we built the plan, we found that they didn't need a miracle. We needed structure in their numbers, and we needed to delay retirement by 2 years. That's what we came up with, and reduce a specific debt. We maximized their catch-up contributions, and we created a more efficient income plan. So it wasn't effortless, but it was achievable. So planning gives you a lot of answers. And when we do the analysis, we see the problems, and then we can come up with the answers. So it's a methodical process. So that is what planning does. It replaces wishful thinking with clear action steps.
Yeah, and exactly. When it comes to retirement, we don't want to hope that everything's going to work out, right? We want a no-so plan, not a hope-so plan. And we want a plan that's written down. So many times I know people come in and speak with you, David, and they go, well, my plan's in my head because I know I have this much saved and Social Security will be there at some point. Well, that's not a plan, guys. That's simply an idea that's in your head. A plan is on paper. You see it. It's in black and white. And also, by the way, and when you put together this financial forecast, again, all under that wealth master plan, this isn't something that's going to be 20 and 30 pages long, right? Because that can be overwhelming. This is maybe, 1, 2, or 3 pages maybe, right? This written plan?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pages that will identify all the detail, but we break it down into some summary pages that I focus on to show what's working and what isn't. And it's a very easy plan to follow. And there's some other analysis that we're going to build behind it, like an investment portfolio analysis. But also we'll be talking about tax planning options and opportunities that they don't see that we might be able to help them implement. So there's a lot of things we can get from that initial pass. And it's a high-level review of what they're currently doing.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, BWA, a registered investment advisor and an affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and First Financial Planners are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BWA, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
David Gagnon and First Financial Planners are not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interests of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure of the ADV 2A Item 4 for additional information.